is Netta. Welcome to my channel. My whole goal here is to help you conquer style over 40, feel confident in what you wear, make the right decisions in the stores so that you can get dressed every single day and feel your absolute best. I feel like we all deserve that. And so if that's something that appeals to you, consider subscribing and stick around. We're going to have fun today because we're going to be talking about something that came up a lot in a recent challenge that I did. How do you tell if your clothes are out of style? Like, how can you tell? How do you know? Are they out of style? Or are they not out of style? Are they contemporary? Are they current? Are they dated? How do you know? So I'm going to give you some strategies that you can use in your own wardrobe that can help you determine if something is out of style. Okay, so the first thing I talked about in that challenge when it comes to determining, for example, if a top is out of style, and I'll link that video below, is putting your clothes into two categories, or each category of item in your closet into two categories. You've got the contemporary category and you've got the classic category. So say we're looking at tops. You should divide your tops into contemporary tops and classic tops. Now, contemporary tops are really what I refer to as contemporary is a trendy top. So it's a top that you bought because it had updated, fun details that made it trendy at the time that you bought it. So cold shoulder tops, or flowy puffy shoulder tops, or flowy bell sleeve tops, or off the shoulder tops, printed tops with very specific seasonal prints. Those are contemporary tops or trend tops. Those are the tops that will date and can look out of style. The classic tops, which is the other category that we talked about, those are your basic tops. They're usually solid, maybe striped, maybe plaid, and they're in very simple shapes. Tee, a button down, a basic sweater with no kind of seasonal or trendy details on them. So those are the classic pieces that you can continue to wear in your wardrobe and feel comfortable having for a good 5 to 10 years at least, depending on how well chosen they are. Even classics you want to look at every 10 years. You know, I did a whole video on why nothing is truly classic and almost nothing is really, really timeless, but those are as close as you're going to get. Button downs, tees, basic sweaters, and solids or stripes are going to be in that classic category. Almost everything else is going to be in the contemporary category. Now, if you're looking at your contemporary tops and they've got all sorts of details on them and they've got a lot of different things going on them, and you bought them more than 3 years ago, chances are there's a chance that they're dated. Does that mean they're always dated? No, but it's something to look at a little bit more carefully. So say you have gone through all of your tops and you're like, okay, here are some tops that I bought more than 3 years ago. Are these tops dated or are they still in style? The next step would be to hop onto a website of a brand that carries trendy pieces, or a store that carries trendy pieces like Nordstrom or Bloomingdale's, whatever your favorite department store is, and look in the tops category, click on new arrivals, and see what they have coming up for that season. Spend 10-15 minutes scrolling through a department store's new arrivals in that category, and you will quickly get an idea of what is in style and what is not in style for the season. Now, especially when you're looking at contemporary brands, this is going to be true. Some brands that are geared for an older audience are going to have some classic pieces mixed in with those, but you really want to look at the contemporary brands. You want to see what they have in store for that season. That's going to help you look at your own shirts a little bit more objectively and decide whether they really kind of go with what's going on in style that season, or whether they look a little dated. For example, cold shoulder tops, something that came up in my private Facebook group in my program. Cold shoulder tops were really trendy a few years ago. They've not been on trend in a while. So we're not really seeing the same style in cold shoulder tops that we were seeing a few years ago. So if you're holding on to a lot of cold shoulder tops, there are alternatives where you can cover your arms and still have a fun, flattering top. So definitely check out what's on the website so that you can see whether what you have in your wardrobe is still contemporary or if it's out of style, because it's those contemporary tops, those trendy tops, that will date. So the next tip I want to share is that the more details are on an item, the more quickly it will date, or the more quickly it will go out of style. So again, if it's got prints and ruffled sleeves and a puff sleeve and a square neck, and which is really all of this is really in style right now, and it's got tassels and pom-poms and fringe hanging off of it, that is going to date and also be a lot more memorable than something that's simpler. So one design element on an otherwise classic shirt, so for example, a floral print from a couple of years ago on a button-down shirt is going to date a lot less than that same floral print on a really trendy cold shoulder top with tassels hanging off the sleeves. So the more details that you have on an item, the more quickly it's going to date and the more quickly it will go out of style. So if you want clothes to stay in your wardrobe longer, keep them simple, keep them solid, or keep a classic print. That doesn't mean that I don't think you should ever buy trendy pieces. You know, I believe that trends are important and they're a great way to update our wardrobes. But if you're going to invest a little bit more in something, you don't want to turn it over as quickly in your wardrobe, then you're going to want to choose simpler styles. And they are going to date better and kind of hold up better over time. The next thing I want to remind you is that, and I kind of alluded to this, is that nothing is timeless. Nothing is timeless. A lot of times we're like, but that's a classic. I've had it for 25 years and it's still, there are very, very few things, and we all have those things, but there are very, very few things that really will last that long and hold up that well over time. Almost everything is ultimately going to look dated or could use a refresher. Maybe the fabric gets a little yellower, maybe the collar is a little different, the fit is different, the length is different. So kind of look at even your classics, look at them a little bit objectively and try to decide whether you should update your classics. A lot of times you can do things yourself to update them. Maybe you can have them altered, maybe you can tweak them, or if you're creative in any way, to just kind of transform them into something that's a little bit more contemporary. But just keep in mind that almost nothing is totally timeless, and so you want to revisit those classics every 5 years or so. The last kind of tip or strategy for looking at an item, deciding whether it's classic or out of style, is to see if you can find a similar item in stores. Again, this kind of goes along with scanning the feed of your favorite department store, but if you can't find anything like it anywhere, it's not because that's such a unique, sometimes you're like, oh, it's so unique and special. Well, yes, but it's also because if that silhouette is nowhere to be found, then chances are it's because that silhouette was a trend a few years ago and is no longer in style. So it's really important, if we're going to wear trends, to make them trendy. Trends should be trendy. Otherwise, we can stick with classics, right? Because nothing looks more, to me, out of place or potentially frumpy than a trend from a few years ago. It really can kind of bring down your whole look and make it look like you're not really paying attention to what's happening in style. And when we look out of touch after a certain age, and trust me, I am at that age where, it's really important to stay relevant with my style, because I don't want to look like I've given up, or I've stopped trying, or I've stopped looking at magazines, or I've stopped paying attention, right? So if you don't like keeping up with trends, definitely stick to the classics and stick to the basics, stick to the staple pieces. I have a lot of them in my Fashion Essentials Over 40 Wardrobe Guide. That's what it's all about there. Having those pieces in your wardrobe that don't date quickly, that will serve you for years to come, that have a lot of versatility, and then you won't have to worry about whether the pieces stay in style or are out of style, because they're going to continue to work for you for years to come. So I hope that was helpful. It gave you a different way of looking at how to tell whether your clothes, your shoes, your accessories are in style or out of style. Let me know if you like this video. If you'd like to see more like it, definitely let me know in the comments what you think of this, and whether you want me to dive into some of these topics a little bit more. Love you guys, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.